Hi, everybody, and thanks for coming along to the Thrive webinar. I'm Robin Holt. I'm here representing Birchal, and it's, well, I would say it's been, we've really been working hard on getting to this point, and it's been an absolutely awesome journey to work with Thrive on preparing this equity crowdfunding campaign so far. And it's actually amazing that we're already at this point, but we're basically looking to launch the investment offer on Tuesday next week. So obviously this is just the closing days of the EOI campaign, but since launching, there's now over 560 EOIs which have been submitted, and tons of people who have been messaging in, asking questions about the Thrive offer. So we're really glad to be here and be able to kind of present to you the opportunity to not only hear more about Thrive, but also hear from the team and ask some questions at the end. I'm going to hand it over to Michael here, who's obviously the co-founder and CEO, and to introduce the rest of the team as well to Thrive and kind of go through the agenda. But just before I do, one of the features which I just wanted to show you is the Q&A feature down here at the bottom. Now, some of you might have submitted your question through the type form before, but if you haven't, use the Q&A feature to ask your question here. I can either answer this one live for you or we'll answer it at the end. So thanks very much, and I hope you enjoy. I'll chat to you all at the end.
Awesome, thanks, Robin. So first of all, I'd love to thank you all for coming today to attend the webinar. It's an awesome privilege for us to connect with you all today and to talk you through our plans with Thrive. In terms of the agenda, for the first part of the session, I'll get an introduction through the team and share our history, our vision, discuss the progress we've made so far, and then we'll do a product demo. We also have a really exciting announcement today, and you'll be the first to hear that before it goes to the press tomorrow. So we're excited to share that news with you as well. And then we'll leave time at the end for Q&A. And to get started, I'll introduce myself first. So I'm Michael, the CEO and co-founder of Thrive. Having been involved in businesses my whole life, the problem we are tackling is something that is very personal to me and, for that matter, the whole team. Before starting my first business, I was actually the head of mobile banking at a number of large banks, including ANZ. And then I went over to the UK and was head of mobile at Lloyds and RBS. And during my time in those roles, I saw firsthand how the needs of business owners were not being addressed by existing products and services in the market. I then started my own business, Parkhound, where I was ultimately responsible for everything. I was the head of finance, the head of sales, head of marketing, and everything else in between. And as the business grew, it became increasingly hard and time-consuming to manage all the financial aspects of the business. And I remember clearly being up late one night, toggling between 5 different browser tabs, using 5 different products, paying 5 different subscription fees. And it dawned on me that, there must be a better way to manage my banking, accounting, tax, and payments. And you see, at the end of the day, the core of running a business is about making more money than you spend. But most business owners don't have the skill or the tools to manage their finances properly. And thankfully, Ben, my co-founder, had the same vision as me, and we decided to start Thrive. Ben, I'll hand over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks everyone for joining. I can sort of see the participant numbers going up. So yeah, thanks for taking the time out of your day. Thanks, Teresa Mitchell from Warrigal. I can see that you've said hello. Welcome. A little bit about me. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Thrive. As Michael mentioned, we've both sort of looked at small business or the needs of small business from 2 angles. For me, I started my career as a commercial lawyer practicing in the litigation space with a firm called Cause Chambers Westgarth. And while I worked as a lawyer, we dealt a lot with instances of where businesses came into trouble with their bank or other financial institutions. It used to always strike me that, we'd get to this position, they'd been provided really little support at any stage within the business and tended to find themselves in trouble. And that sort of was across banks, but also their accountants as well. So I'd always thought, look, there's plenty of ways that small businesses can be helped and supported along the way. It just wasn't getting actioned at the time. And then I moved myself into business and worked at a retailer, which would be described as a medium-sized business. And in the business, I experienced the other side. So I experienced having to deal with the banks and other financial institutions and even accountants, just to try to get, I guess, simple support and proactive advice on things, which was quite difficult. And most of the products that we used there were not really fit for purpose, were often siloed, and we ended up using sort of 6 to 8 products just to get 1 or 2 things done. And that was in a business with a relatively large turnover. So that's been my experience, and that's why it's really brought me and Michael together to create Thrive, and to really focus on small to medium businesses in this space. I'll flick it on to Sammy.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. And again, I'd like to thank everybody that sort of jumped on this call. It's a pleasure to meet everyone as well. Sammy Annabeth, I am the CFO of Thrive. Similar to Ben, I actually got a little bit of training as a lawyer, but I learned pretty quickly that I was a lot better at finance than at law. So as a result, my career sort of went back to front and kicked off before the global financial crisis, where I was a treasurer of a small bank. So I sort of made my bones managing a balance sheet and financial performance, what was then quite uncertain and volatile times, similar to what we're sort of going through now, which has always led to my mantra, which has stuck with me since, which is cash is king. So even as a SME owner myself, I know firsthand that cash is king for all of us. Over the years, I've been a treasurer for a number of different banks. I've built finance and treasury functions, supported smaller banks grow, become larger banks. My focus has always sort of been around capital management, cash flow, funding, licenses, credit systems, risk management, governance, all the stuff that we all sort of get excited about. Over the last couple of years, I've been in the startup space, so I know sort of firsthand how hard it is to build a business. I spent 12 months in London at Revolut, which was Europe's fastest growing fintech, which is currently valued at about, in US dollar terms, $5.5 billion. And it was acquiring at a stage there 1 million customers a month. And before that, I was the inaugural treasurer of Bolt Bank, which some of you will be familiar with as one of the more recent neobanks in the domestic market. In a nutshell, really, I sort of know firsthand how cumbersome and time-consuming financial admin is. Luckily for me, I have a passion for admin and finance, which probably makes me an outlier, but I know that's not necessarily the case for most of you. As Michael sort of mentioned, you just want to go out there and give it a crack. So, with the team, to build a product and build something that we're calling CFO, a CFO in your pocket, maybe something that could replace me at some point in the future is something that really excites me as well. So I'll just hand it over to our Chief Data Officer, Yao.
Thank you, Sammy. Hi, everyone. I'm Yao, and I'm the Chief Data Officer here at Thrive. And I've joined the team as of around August last year. Prior to that, I've got a background in computer science, having spent about 15 years in the data and analytics industry in a number of different companies and servicing a number of different industries. I've got hands-on experience as well as leadership experience in consulting, professional services, data strategy and architecture, data science, marketing and digital analytics, as well as personalization. And learning from that experience, I'm a really big fan of delivering on data-driven solutions through a process of rapid prototyping and iterative development. So, joining Thrive, I've really got the awesome opportunity to really put all of that experience to use and really do a lot of the things that you just wished you could do in the past. More recently, I was head of analytics at Ilion, a credit bureau based in Australia, where I worked on developing and innovating on some of their solutions in financial services, and more specifically on using some of the latest machine learning technologies to derive insights and forecasts based on transactional banking information. It's also where I had the pleasure to meet and work with Warren, our CTO, who I'll hand over to now.
Thanks, Yao. Hi, everyone. My name is Warren. I'm the CTO of Thrive, and I've been involved with the company for the past year. My professional background is in software engineering, and it's a career spanning over 20 years. I've also got certifications in project management and solution architecture, but I don't think that really matters to most people. I've been working on the IT side of finance for the past 15 years. So what started off as a 6-month contract engagement at a bank turned into a 6-year stint, as it does. And throughout that time, I've been working in fields such as vehicle finance, transactional banking, investment banking. I've worked as a full-time employee, a consultant. I've worked with 2 IT service startup companies. These all included various roles such as a full stack developer, the leader of a digital team, a center of excellence team, and shifting into a more commercially focused solution architecture work. My most recent role was as a solution architect with Ilion, and there I was working on the upliftment of their debt management systems and the categorization engine, and I got some exposure to the inner workings of a credit bureau. I've worked on large greenfield cloud projects with Microsoft. A government service delivery project in 2018 was the largest in Middle East Africa at the time. And my interests include researching new things, specifically blockchain, edge computing, AI ops. I love being involved at the conceptual stage of working with Thrive, because this really empowers me to channel all this knowledge and experience into the platform. And I think what motivates me the most about working with this team is that we're all very internally driven to improve these products and services. It's really great to see our customer waitlist growing and experiencing this interaction with people and seeing the excitement generated around what we're planning to offer. Back to Michael. I think you're on mute.
You're on mute.
I was trying to be good. So thanks everybody. So I guess where we start is, if you think about running and starting a business, most people do it because they have a particular skill, passion, or an opportunity they want to take advantage of. And if you were to speak to the 2.3 million Aussie business owners across the country, you would hear the same 2 things. I want to be my own boss, and I want to control my own destiny. And the reality of running a business is it's actually the extreme opposite of those 2 things. Business owners become slaves to financial admin. And based on our research, we've done a huge amount of it, they spend over 6 hours a week on everything from sending invoices to reconciling expenses. And that's a huge mess. And to cap it off, business owners loathe doing financial admin. And whilst they all recognize that good financial management is the most critical aspect to running a successful business, it's the last thing they want to do when they get home after a long day at work and their kid runs to the door to greet them. And at its core, what Thrive does is we automate all of this work, replacing the need for expensive tools and services that only do half the job. How we do that is Thrive provides a smart transaction account that allows businesses to manage all their financial admin in one place. It combines banking, accounting, tax, invoicing, payments, lending, and so much more. And to do this, we use the transaction account and all the income and expenses that are flowing through that to interpret past trends and predict future needs. And we use this data to suggest the next best action for a business owner to take. And as Sammy mentioned, it's like having a CFO in your pocket. Instead of having a physical person in your business who's monitoring all this and flicking you things to do, Thrive looks out for your business and takes care of everything that you need. We have totally reimagined how businesses can manage their money. And we've done this by spending hours interviewing, surveying, and observing business owners. And we have taken these biggest challenges and resolved them in a very simple, integrated, and seamless way. Our ultimate ambition is to make financial management something that just happens. It's not something you have to go and do. And in turn, do away with this 6 hours of wasted productivity and allow business owners to invest that time back into their actual business.
Yeah, it's I'll just jump in here and talk about how we really focused early on what type of model we would do as a business to make sure that we could really properly focus in on that automation aspect and the key bits of our product offer without, I guess, wasting too much capital or time on other elements. So we identified really early on that we wanted to pursue a partnership model for what we wanted to achieve. We basically didn't want to reinvent the wheel on some core products which require a lot of capital, a lot of regulatory oversight, etc. So what we did was we run an extensive RFP program to look at a core banking partner that could provide us some white label services. We ended up, talking to around 11 or over 11 potential partners, right from top 4 players through to new starters in the banking area. We ended up selecting this particular partner we've gone with because they really clearly understood our requirements. And the most important bit is they really aligned with us on the small business element. They were really keen to see this flourish because they see the massive gap that there is here. They're also, a nice and good people to work with. They're accessible, flexible, and they really have as a mandate to help us grow. They often refer to themselves as a bit of an incubator for us, and that's a fantastic relationship to have. The other key element was that they did offer actually the best services, and they offered services through APIs which start from a transaction account through to payments and even a credit and lending option, which we'll roll out later in the business. But that was a really key element, the credit and lending part. So we're also able to, under the relationship, look at funding from alternative third parties as well, if the credit and lending piece gets to a certain level that we need to look at third parties for. The other area that we really wanted to partner with, a leading provider was in relation to card schemes. So again, we undertook a pretty extensive RFP process to find the best possible card scheme partner for us. We really looked at how a card scheme would support a new entrant, both in terms of incentivization, but also how quickly they would allow us to get a product off the ground and operational in market. And so I can say now that we ended up choosing MasterCard, which really aligned with us on offering a great support up front, ongoing support, and also, I guess, relative nimbleness in getting a product into market quite quickly. And so having, MasterCard behind us is an endorsement for us and how we operate, and we're really happy to announce that for the first time, actually, just now. First to know. We also just wanted to touch on our, strong wait list that we've got going. It's no mean feat to get over 7,000 SMEs on a wait list, which are really wanting our product. We're so proud that we've been able to get that, and it's just an endorsement of how much this product is wanted by SMEs and just the public in general. We delve into the waitlist. We know a lot about them. We focus in on them. We survey them. We get what they want. We get a lot of feedback from them. And it's a feedback loop, and we end up actually taking a lot of that on board for potential product in the future. We, believe it or not, we've also allowed an option where people can skip up the line in the waitlist for a $5 fee. And it's been taken up by some customers. So there's a real hunger to get this product out there within that group. Just in summary, it's been amazing. We've been able to create a really strong brand, come to agreements with key partners that we feel really align with us and support us. And we're in a great position to launch later in the year with products which everyone wants, and our wait list is waiting to get. So I'm really happy about it. And I'll flick it on to Sammy to talk about the financials and a bit more of the business model.
Yeah, look, thanks, Ben. I think you touched on a couple of the key elements there as well. And of course, when talking about the financial performance of the business and the operating model, there's three key things, or at least three key themes I want to talk about. One is in terms of the amount of capital required to build this business compared to some of the incumbents, it's only a fraction. We have, and I'll keep on repeating this, we have a real light capital model. Secondly is our diverse revenue streams, which I'll touch on a little bit more as well. And thirdly, as Ben spoke about, is leveraging our partners to keep our operating costs low. So, just on that first point, in terms of having a capital light model, we feel that this is our biggest point of difference We only need a small percentage of capital compared to some of the other incumbents in the markets to get product out to market. And that's evident in the conversations that we're having now, where we're looking to raise a maximum of $3 million. We expect this to give us enough cash runway for 18 months, enable us to take that full suite of products that Michael spoke about to markets. And that includes the tax functionality, the accounting, invoicing, credit, the payments piece as well. Around that point, 18 months, so towards the end of, let's say Q3 of next year, that's probably around the time we expect to break even and be cash flow positive, where we would look to undertake the next fundraise, which will be the final fundraise. And we only expect it to be somewhere between $7 to $10 million to really grow and expand the business. Of course, as I sort of mentioned, because we're generating enough profit at that time, we're not forecasting any future raises. But of course, we may need to raise a slightly bigger amount just to keep a war chest in there as well. I mean, in terms of this real capital light model, there are both domestic and international precedents that this model works, where technology companies like ourselves partner with banks to get a really strong proposition to markets. We've seen it domestically with Up and Bendigo Bank. We've seen that marriage blossom with Up having over 500,000 customers. We've seen the recent announcement between Afterpay and Westpac, and globally I've sort of seen that firsthand when I was over in London as well. The second point, which I sort of spoke about, was around the revenue streams. As Michael sort of mentioned there as well, by being that one-stop shop for businesses, enables us to have those diverse revenue streams. You know, we will generate revenue from a net interest margin from lending to businesses in the form of fixed rate loans, overdrafts and credit cards, as Ben mentioned. We will generate revenue from interchange, as we sort of just touched on in terms of our partnership with MasterCards, as businesses use both their debit and credit cards as well. We will generate revenue through the subscription model that we propose in terms of offering that a la carte menu of options for businesses to pick and choose what options they actually want to take up and what options add the most value to them. We will generate revenue from referrals as well, whether if it's more sophisticated small businesses around wealth management and or, you know, in terms of business insurances, etc. And we also will sort of generate some revenue as well in terms of providing merchant terminals. So by having this diverse revenue base, it enables us to sort of, you know, hedge the business going forwards. You know, if there are some unforeseen circumstances and there's some economic shocks, it gives us a lot more flexibility and a few more levers to push and pull to sort of navigate some of those challenges. The last point I'll just make around the low operating cost model before handing over to Yao is, you know, how we actually keep our costs down. You know, we put our hand in our heart and we say that we are quite frugal in our approach, and you could sort of see that within the offer document, which will be released as well, to show exactly where we've sort of got up to with very minimal resources. So we've proved not only to the market, but also to ourselves that we can keep costs down. But probably more importantly, as Ben mentioned, you know, we have the ability to leverage our partner bank, their back office, their extensive experience, you know, to keep our regulatory costs down, to keep our compliance costs down, to keep our servicing costs down, to even keep our tech costs down as well, which enables us to spend more money on marketing, more money on customer acquisition, and more money in terms of building out our tech stack to build a fantastic product. So, you know, if we sort of just, you know, pull all those three elements together, you know, we feel that, you know, we're on the right track in terms of our business model, in terms of our operating model to develop a fantastic product. And, you know, before I sort of hand over to Yao, I'll just, you know, leave it on one quick note, is the fact that this round, it is a maximum of $3 million, and there's only really one more fundraise going forward in 18 months' time, which really shows that the way that we're approaching this is that capital light approach. Over to you, Yao.
Thanks, Sammy. I'll talk a little bit about our data and marketing plans as we approach launch. Data is the key element and fuel for our competitive advantage and all of the smart AI features that we're building. And we're building a platform that's going to provide us with a 360-degree view of a small business's financial health and information beyond what's in their bank account. So that includes things like very accurate firmographics, their invoicing information, both inbound and outbound, bookkeeping, payroll, asset registers, as well as open banking connections once that becomes available in Australia. The opportunity here is almost limitless because business financial data is a lot richer than consumer financial data, which everybody's a lot more used to talking about. And it's got exponentially more depth and therefore more potential for actionable insights as well. Any data scientist is going to tell you that data quality and availability is really the key limitation for machine learning and smart features. And being at the center of all of this means we've got the direct visibility and a really high quality and accuracy of information across all these lenses. So I'm really excited to be using the latest machine learning technologies and techniques to help businesses to automate and streamline everyday tasks like tracking and paying your invoices, reconciling bank transactions against various other structured and unstructured data sources. And we're also leveraging our data set to minimize the amount of user input that's required by learning from a user's past behaviors, as well as the behaviors of all the users across our platform once we hit critical mass. Most importantly, though, we're going to go from sort of a hindsight and insight view to more of a foresight view with smart cash flow and tax predictions, as well as the capability to provide, as Michael was mentioning, those micro insights and nudges driven by some of our own domain expertise, as well as sort of smarter AI techniques on top of a highly scalable cloud platform. As we approach launch, we've had a huge amount of success with our digital campaigns up to this point. And that's allowed us to drum up a lot of interest, as well as acquire and conduct detailed research with a large waitlist, as Ben mentioned earlier. So as we approach launch, we're going to extend this capability to further acquire and nurture a community of small businesses around the Thrive platform. We're also actively pursuing partnerships and alliances that make sense for us. For example, we've already signed up 5 accountancy groups that's going to be referring their customers to Thrive. And we're looking forward to build synergies with other business service organizations, including insurance, digital services, and industry-specific ones like platforms for the gig economy and marketplaces and wholesalers and things like that. So it's really exciting times. With that, I'll throw over to Warren, who will tell you a little bit more about our tech platform and get into the product demo.
Thanks, Yao. I enjoy working with Yao because I see him as a client in a certain sense, in that my role to provide him with as many cutting edge tools and technologies as he can, because like he said, data analytics are the core of what we do. Our platform is built in Microsoft Azure. The system architecture, for those that are interested, is a event-driven serverless architecture. This allows us to seamlessly integrate with our partners, handle large traffic volumes, scale on demand, provide an excellent security framework that exceeds the requirements of local regulators. And we can achieve a very low cost to service per customer using this model. I'm also proud to announce that we're part of the Microsoft for Startups program, and thereby we benefit from this relationship by way of free product licensing, engineering support, and go-to-market assistance. In terms of our digital channels, we will provide a web app, mobile apps for Android and iOS. A third channel will be a conversational style chatbot that connects our clients to an extensive body of knowledge for self-service, and to a live user help desk, which is also accessible via live chat, phone, and email. In terms of our approach, we follow a Scrum-based Agile methodology, and we base this on Microsoft's recommendations for application lifecycle management. Our primary tools to facilitate Agile teamwork are DevOps and Microsoft Teams. We're continuously refining this 3-stage product roadmap that we have to reflect feedback from our Thrive waitlist clients, lessons learned with our engineering team, and we use that to improve the overall user experience. So now it's time for me to put all this talk into action and give you a demo of the platform we've built. First step is to get the screen shared. I hope I've got permission to do that.
You should have permission. Yep.
Thank you.
Whilst Warren's setting up, I thought I'd just add, it's great for everyone to meet the team, and just so everybody knows, all the team that has just spoken has literally put their heart and soul into getting the business to this stage. So it's great to hear everyone talking so passionate about what we're doing, and I'm really proud of the team we've been able to build behind Thrive. I'll go back to you, Warren.
Yeah, everyone see my screen with Thrive? Shared?
Yep.
Robin, Michael, can anyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just checking. All right, just checking that it's all visible. Right, so this will be the landing page, which is similar to the plusthrive.com website we've got right now. You'll see there that we've now got a login and become member instead of signing up for the waitlist. All the brochureware we've got showing off our products still there in place. And now I'm going to start the process of becoming a member. So I'm going to start with a fictional character that's got nothing to do with an alcoholic beverage. And what we do here is we're just signing up to validate someone's email address. We don't actually want to go any further until we can validate that email address. There's no point in creating a user object or signing them up. So they've sent an email to this address. I'll just go check that mailbox quickly. There it comes. I'm going to confirm my account. Good job, Sam. Thanks for confirming your email. Please create your login password. So I'm going to set my password now. You can see as I'm typing, the validations are running. Now it's taking me into the what's next screen, which prepares me for the process of onboarding via KYC and KYB. What most businesses find very challenging is the electronic onboarding and creation of an account and verification. So this is normally a manual process, but we've managed to automate everything. So here's what you'll need to get started. You'll need to open an account if you're over 18, an Australian resident, have a valid ABN or ACN because we're opening this account for businesses, and some form of identification. Just complete this quickly. Let's assume the person was born 2 years ago. No, you need to be 18 or older. Home address, so we just got to look up there. People can manually go and override that, but we recommend they stick with the default address finding. Right, now I need to provide some form of identification. I can choose any one of these three, so I'll go with driver's license. And confirm that I'm authorized to provide these details. Right, now we want to know more about your business. So I happen to be a sole trader. And I'm just going to search there for Thrive. Now this does a real-time search. It does an ABN lookup. We find the following Australian businesses. We can filter those by state or by postcode if the list is very long. In this case, I'm going to go for a sole trader called Thrive. Continue. Right, just checking my ABN number there, and then I'm a sole trader. I'm going to say that I'm not registered for GST. Place of business can be anywhere. Industry, let's do something interesting. Now this industry is a ATO BIC list lookup that we can use for tax and consolidation later on. So let's say I'm rock lobster fishing. That's interesting. Company name, continue. Now we're running a real-time verification against that individual and the business we've just entered. For an individual, we're doing a full AML CTF PEP check so that you don't show up on any criminal watch lists, and we're checking that the business isn't insolvent. All right, once that's passed, we capture a PIN. So this PIN number will be used throughout your experience with Thrive. If you need to do something sensitive like perform a transaction or anything we deem necessary for a PIN entry. And what we're doing in the background here, interestingly enough, is we're connecting to our banking partner to set up the paperwork and share all these checks we've done to start setting up the process of a bank account. Now, to tailor your account via a subscription model, you can either use the beautiful banking product for free, which is the basic bank account, or you can start tailoring this to your needs by adding a basket of features such as bookkeeping, automated accounting, TurboTax, instant invoices, and powerful payroll. For $40, they can just add all those features as a bundle. I'm going to continue with that. Credit card, obviously it's fictitious. No payment in future. Right now we're taking any credit card that person might have or any debit card, but in future, once they've got their Thrive account established and this card's in use, they can pivot that via the app to rather debit from this Thrive account. So let's say we want to deliver to a different address than my business. We just put that in. This is where your Thrive card for your newly created transactional account will be sent to. And I've now hit the landing page. So I'm now officially registered for Thrive. And there's a logo for my business. I can change that logo at any time. The reason for this screen is that in future, we might have a particular person that owns more than one company, or is a sole proprietor of more than one company, and they could then scroll through these horizontally in a card-based fashion, select the company they want to work with at that moment, and then go into those features for that company. See under Home, here's a summary of our position. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pivot over to a mobile view just to show you the responsiveness of the web app. So I don't know if everyone can see that, but that's the mobile view. Is a summary of our account. The balance is 0. There's a summary of our budgets in future that we will be doing, our inbox, our current position, invoices that we will be sending in draft status, send status, overdue status, and paid. We're uniquely positioned to work with our payment partner to collect payment for these invoices that are sent out to our clients' clients. And we're at the intersection of that. So we're able to immediately pick up when an invoice has been paid and reconcile that back into the account for tax purposes. So then under tax and accounting, you see that there's a summary. Now, if I go to the top, I get more details on those specific issues. Let's go to account. And what I'm going to do very quickly is just transfer some money into this account. So there's the BSB and account number. And while I'm busy with that for about 30 seconds, maybe Michael can tell you something interesting about the site.
Yeah, so what Warren's actually going to go into our environment and actually transfer money into this account so we can show you some of the other features. But while we're doing that, I think just to touch on the subscription part of the business, we did a huge amount of research with our customers, and what we identified is that most business owners have very different needs depending on the type of business they're running and also how mature that business is. So for example, if you're a tradie, which has actually been a good portion of our signups on the wait list, tradies need invoicing. That's how they get income. So for them, it's important that they can add that feature. But if you're running a childcare centre, you don't need invoicing necessarily, but you might need payroll to pay your staff, and you might need a mechanism to direct debit from the parents' accounts to charge for the child's enrolment. So by breaking up the features into more granular modules, which you would have seen earlier, the accounting, the tax, payroll, and so on, it allows businesses to come in and pick and choose what they need. And as their business grows, let's say for the first 6 months of their existence, they don't really have much to do with worrying about tax or accounting, so they don't need to pay for those features. But as their business matures and they do have that need, they can simply just come in and add those on. And we'll retrospectively take any past data that's been sitting in the account and apply it to those features. So it's a much more efficient way for businesses to access all the tools that they need. And it sort of bypasses actually one of the frustrations we've seen today where people are using multiple tools and they're paying multiple subscriptions, but none of those things actually do exactly what they need. So this has resonated really well in the research we've done, and it's something we're looking forward to launching when this product's live.
Thanks, Michael. All right, it's done. I've transferred $1,350 into this account and refreshed it. It's now reflecting. You've got the usual ability to look at your transactions, look at how they get categorized, your statements, your reconciled expenses. Now that ties into your ability to scan a receipt. We can't give you an actual demo of the scan receipt function, but we can give you a preview of what that will look like. So that's me holding up a receipt to the camera and just trying to center it. And then it takes a snapshot. And there we go. And it just analyzes the fields and brings back the data we need. So
and that's a really cool feature because we'll use that to reconcile transactions automatically. Also pull out the GST component for a receipt, use that to do the BAS calculation. And then I guess the other key bit is just having a digital copy of the receipt as well. So you don't have to keep a physical copy. If you think about a tradie again, putting all these receipts in their glove box, I can do away with that now.
And very quickly, because I got 1 minute left or 30 seconds actually, under invoices, you can upload invoices. This is particularly useful if you're collecting a bunch of invoices from your suppliers and you want us to analyze them, in addition to the invoices that you're drafting and sending out to your own customers. So, it's a two-way process for uploading and sending out invoices and tracking them. And then for tax, we do an income tax summary and an estimated tax bill. You can see how we calculate this here based on your activity. And you can also go further and we can adjust that calculation with certain variables in your tax profile. Then we can also generate tax reports for you. So a profit and loss, a batch report, a CSV export. And we've got a tax tutorial with some calculators, videos, so yes, preparing batch statements. And that's about it for the demo. I hope everyone enjoyed that.
Yeah, thanks for that, Warren. I know Warren could be happy to do the demo for a whole hour, but we wanted to just sort of highlight some of the key features. I think the thing to just remember as well with that demo is a lot of that activity will be happening automatically. And when you log in, there's an inbox where you'll get notified about certain things that we either need the business owner's permission to do or to let them know that something has happened. One of the cool features as well, that same receipt scanning feature that Warren highlighted will also be used to pull in invoices and receipts automatically from the inbox of a business owner. So if you're a business owner and you receive a receipt digitally as a PDF or you receive an invoice as a PDF, we'll automatically, with your permission, pull those into your Thrive product, and we'll say, hey, you've got an invoice due on the 22nd of February. Do you want us to schedule a payment to be made for that invoice? And even more so in the future, which is what Yao's working on, we'll also predict the best day for that payment to occur based on the projected cash flow position of the business. So if it makes sense for them to be paid tomorrow because the business has sufficient funds, that's when it will be scheduled. So it's literally seamless, and we expect to turn that 6 hours a week into, hopefully just 30 minutes of you checking everything's looking good, and making sure that the right things are happening on your account. So that's it in terms of that part of the session. I guess, Robin, we're happy to now take any questions from the audience.
Yeah, awesome. And it's so brilliant as not only to see the product, but also to hear how passionate you guys are. I think I love the references to the UK and the fintech scene over there. Obviously, anybody who can hear my accent knows I'm not from here. So I've come from the UK myself. I can see how much of a dominant force and really drive it is in London. And for people who are there, they can really see how much of an impact not only neobanks, but also fintechs themselves are really having on, the startup community, but the general banking industry, because these players they cannot compete on the same level. People want new alternatives, which are much more tech focused. And that's really what you've done here. And obviously I could answer some of the questions here, which you've got. The first one, which is coming through, which is there going to be a recording, which is going to be available for this session? There absolutely is. We're going to be sending it to everybody who's attended today, and people who didn't have a chance to attend. We'll also make it publicly available for anybody else to view. So that is no issue at all. But I really want to kick off with a question which has been asked here quite a few times. You've actually been asked it by Rupesh. Rupesh has asked it twice in slightly different ways, and Teresa has asked this question as well, and it's really centered around how you're different to software like Xero and Myob. Will you be able to kind of bridge them all together, or is this a solution to, well, basically not have to use those platforms?
Absolutely. Our vision is to replace the need for having that platform, those other ones, and that's the vision of having everything under one single umbrella. Importantly, if you go back to the start of Thrive, when we actually looked at what those services do, they essentially take the data through a bank feed and pull that into their environment, and then visually represent the same data that's in your bank account for tax and forecasting purposes. So they're not creating that data. That data doesn't sit with them. They're just taking data from the bank account. So we thought, what about if you actually change that paradigm, and instead of having these features that sit outside of online or mobile banking, and you brought it all together? Firstly, that's really powerful, so people don't have to use multiple tools. It avoids issues or conflicts where data is inconsistent between those tools. Often those tools are not real time, so you're often having to go and check your online banking. And then most importantly, which is the whole premise behind Thrive, is the ability to not only read information, but write information. Because we are the source of truth and that we allow you to do payments, we allow you to submit tax returns, all of that in one place, we can actually act on your behalf, which is where the automation piece comes in. Ultimately, when you're using Xero, you still have to come back and use something else a lot of the time to complete the job. And that's why I mentioned at the start, a lot of these tools do half the job. With Thrive, we execute everything end to end. And if you don't want to, you don't have to use anything else. Now, the second part is, will we be an open platform? Yes. We're all about our business owners. So for whatever reason, if they have a preference to want to use Xero or use MyOp or use another tool, we will have an open platform in that sense, whether it's either an integration or an API or something for people to use if they want to. But ultimately, we don't think they'll need to.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And the question which Vincent's asked at the top is, keen to know the terms of the offer, or happy to wait until it goes live next week? Obviously, the investment offer is going to be opening on Tuesday next week for anybody who isn't fully aware, because the expression of interest campaign is going to be closing at 10 p.m. on the Monday. So if you've expressed interest to invest, which I'm hopefully assuming that 99% of people who are attending here have, then you will be the first to know when the offer goes privately live and given first access. But Michael, would you like to go through some of the terms of the offer and maybe perhaps just state what will be in the offer document?
Yeah, we're looking to raise a maximum of $3 million. And we think that gives us a significant amount of runway to launch all the products and services we've mentioned. And importantly, also grow our customer base and launch the lending and credit products as well. So we think from a revenue perspective, we'll be in a strong position at the end of that period. We're looking to, the shares will be 70 cents per share and minimum $350 investment. At this stage, as Robin mentioned, we've had a lot of demand. So we're very confident that we'll actually get close to, or if not, exceed our target. Which is a great position to be in. And I think importantly for us, not only are there investors joining the round, but there's also a lot of the customers who've signed up to the waitlist have got involved. And they're actually the initial inspiration behind doing the crowdfunding. We would often get asked at demos that we were doing with our member base, and they would ask us about our funding position and things like that, because a lot of them are entrepreneurs themselves. And that just, piqued our interest. And we thought, wouldn't it be great if you could actually have people who are not only advocates for the product, but also investors in the business too. So we're excited to bring them on board too.
Yeah, enter equity crowdfunding. And look, you've touched on it already. So I really want to ask this question, which somebody has asked here, and it's actually anonymous, unfortunately, but they're keen to know other investors who have already committed to investing in this round and are basically cornerstoning the round. And maybe we can talk about this. We know obviously that there's some pretty firm commitments. Of course, they need to submit an application as well, but do you maybe want to talk through this? They've obviously asked if any VCs are coming in.
Yeah, absolutely. We've actually had a lot of interest. So just given the network that the team has and our involvement in other startups, when we started Thrive, we've always had that support around the business. I think it's also pretty public in the sense that on our offer online page, you'll see that there's a few advisors involved. So from that perspective, they're backing the business as well as some VCs are coming into the round as well. So I think from that front, we have a good mix of sophisticated, high net worth and strategic investors, in addition to everybody else. And for us, that's important. And I think it's important for other investors, because that Sammy mentioned, as we move forward and look to do a next fundraise, that there's people that have deeper pockets that can come back in and take us to the next level.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And we've had another question here, which I really don't think is a negative at all. I think it's something which no doubt every company gets asked. And it's really around, why are there no females in your management team? I'm sure you've been asked this before, and I'm sure you'd love to be able to say that we do have people coming in. You're kind of eager to get more females on board in the team. Obviously, being a really small startup, it's very challenging sometimes to really focus on that piece. But just throwing over to your side, Michael, what's generally the position here that you kind of see yourselves in?
Absolutely. Look, I think for us, it's something we're definitely aware of. It's just I guess, given the stage we're at, being a pre-funded business, a lot of it, well, the whole team has joined on a sweat equity basis. We've actually had 2 offers out to females to join the leadership team for a variety of reasons, just due to personal circumstances mostly. They were not able to join at a pre-funding stage. So that's actually been the real complexity. Now for us as well, Ben and I are good friends, Yao and Warren are good friends. So there's an element of trust when you're joining a startup that's pre-funding and committing your time. The good news is we do have females in the team. We actually have a team of 12 already. And we have a couple of female engineers and as well as a female design lead. So it's not all bad news. And then also post-funding, we have a community manager slated to join the role. And she's going to be managing the wait list, getting them excited and getting them ready for launch. So yeah, it's not an issue, and it's something that from a leadership perspective, we definitely like to fill out and get that diversity of thought and opinion and background into the business. But it's something we're addressing. I think one thing to say from a positive perspective is the whole team that's here today actually has very diverse backgrounds, both from a nationality perspective, different life experiences. I myself have an Italian background, Sammy's got a Moroccan background, Warren's from South Africa. So there's a whole variety of diversity in the team already, and it's something we definitely want to cultivate as we move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. No, it's something which we're obviously very familiar with, being a small business in the startup community. And it's absolutely a drive and focus, and that diversity really benefits the business long term. And moving down, we've had a question here from Vincent, who's really using this Q&A feature. Thanks so much for submitting such great questions here. He's asked, do you think this will largely replace the need for SMB accountant, for the SMB accountant?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. In terms of as Yao mentioned, we've actually had a number of accounting firms sign up to the platform to refer the product. So for them, they see it as a big win, because often today, businesses come to them literally with folders of receipts and no information about their finances and expect the accountant to work miracles. So they can see, wow, if this is all happening in the background, this will make my life easier when it comes to tax time, or when I need to provide advisory services. So yes, we do think it's both a facilitator for accountants. In some cases where businesses have basic needs, it will either reduce the need for them to have an accountant, or they might not need them at all. But ultimately, again, we're focused on the business itself and what they need. Now, we'll facilitate through accounting feeds so that accountants can get all the information that they need. In the future, we might also even refer businesses to an accountant if we identify something that they need help with. But yeah, it ultimately comes down to the nuances of each individual business and exactly what their needs are, and whether it'll supplement or remove the need for an accountant in their individual business.
Yeah, awesome. And moving down to another question from Vincent, and a number of people have asked this as well. Well, not particularly this question. This question is asking about if the banking partner is taking a stake. I thought maybe now would be a really nice time to announce the news that you'd really like to announce, obviously, as part of this webinar, which is going out in a press release tomorrow.
Yeah, so as Ben touched on, we've got the MasterCard agreement, which is huge for us. I'll touch on the banking thing in a second, which is huge for us. For an early stage business to have a brand of that supporting us is incredible. It's a support just beyond in terms of both giving us access to the ability to launch debit cards and credit cards, but it's also providing resources, time, and tools to help us run our business as well, which is fantastic. Something we're really proud of, something we've been working on for a long time. More importantly, they're really supportive of us. And tomorrow you'll see the expectation is there'll be some coverage in the media about that. So you can read a little bit more directly from how MasterCard sees it. On the partner bank, we're actually going to be announcing that hopefully soon as well. The agreements are in place, which is fantastic. And we've been working with them for a long time. They're not taking a stake in this round. It's something that we agreed, I think, to maintain that independence. And it was something we actually wanted as well. there has been some talk about whether we look at that in the future, but we'll judge that as we move forward. I think for both parties, we're already very deep in each other's pockets, working day by day together. So from an investment perspective, it doesn't change anything, and it was actually something we prefer to maintain that independence for now.
Yeah, awesome. And just moving down, Raveen has said, congratulations on the progress to date. And they're asking what systems your current customers are replacing with, basically with Thrive solution, and how much they can save by actually implementing Thrive compared with other solutions which are currently in place.
Yeah, awesome question. We did a lot of research on this. So you have the time component, which I mentioned, which is about 6 hours a week. And that scales, right? So if your business is a bit bigger, it's more time. From a cost perspective, for a small business, it's $1,800 a year. And I think for most of you who run a business, you could easily see how you can spend $1,800 on doing your tax returns and BAS and all of those different things, in addition to the cost of, say, using a Xero and MyOp, which are not cheap. They typically range between $30, $50 and $80 a month for most small to medium businesses. So from a cost perspective, you're looking at around $1,800 to $3,000 a year. Now with Thrive, as we showed earlier, the premium package, which includes everything, is $40 a month. And that's based on our testing we've done to date. Obviously, as we go live, we might adjust that pricing accordingly. As we roll out more features, the pricing might change accordingly as well. But the cool thing with us is we allow businesses to pick and choose. So for some businesses, they might just have the free bank account. For others, they might have $20 worth of subscription, depending on their business needs. So that flexibility is inbuilt into the pricing. So yeah, look, ultimately, we think it's going to be a huge time saver. It's going to be a huge cost saver. But most importantly, it's going to be a huge stress reliever. For a lot of these businesses, like I said, the last thing they want to do is do these finances. And they're happy to go and outsource it to anybody and anything. With Thrive, we think it'll be the most effective and efficient way for them to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. For so many small businesses, they just don't want to get involved in this. And I remember when I first moved over here, one of the things that was quite consistent with very small businesses was the red tape for managing and operating a very small business. And it wasn't always easily set up for them. So it's really interesting to obviously hear it from your perspective and see the way you've set up. We've had an anonymous question. Who does your AML and KYC? Do you guys outsource it or is it back end?
Yeah, we've partnered with someone. We think it's best to use some of the expertise of people who've been doing this at scale for a while. But I'll hand over to Warren if he wants to just give a little bit more detail on that.
Yeah, we're working with a integration partner for KYC and KYB. They're able to automate specifically the KYB process, which is troublesome, especially when it comes down to things like multi-level trusts and partnerships. They're quite complicated and they usually require manual processing, but they're able to do this electronically. And their data sources include all the major credit bureaus in Australia and a couple overseas.
Yeah. Just Robin, just for security reasons, I don't know if we want to name who it is specifically because it's a very sensitive.
Absolutely. No, of course, no problem at all. And I think, if we kind of move down into some of these questions here as well, obviously you've been asked about the banking piece here. One question which Emma has asked, how can the user manage international transactions and payments? Will you guys be connecting to an app like TransferWise or other international banking accounts? It's a really interesting question, actually. Obviously, it's mainly locally based, but I'm sure you've had this question before.
Yes, so the plan at this point, we're actually doing a review right now of different third parties on that front. So we haven't made a final decision about what we're going to do, but ultimately the decision will be predicated on who provides the best value to our customers. So hopefully the best deal that we can achieve will be passed through to our member base.
Yeah, absolutely. And an anonymous question, how is the customer information being kept secure? Everybody kind of gets this question, especially as an early stage startup. And I remember when I was working with the Eggy team on their raise, they got asked this question because, when it comes down to it, startups get asked these questions, not almost on the same scale that large corporates do. But really, when you set yourselves up to win, that's really like when you get people to trust what you're doing and how you're doing it. So I don't know if you wanted to just quickly just run through maybe some of the security in place to just ensure that customers' information is kept securely.
Yeah, I'll take one.
I'll just quick intro, Warren. Just so from a framework perspective, the good news is because we're partnering with established players, there's a certain level of requirements that we've agreed, which means that we're basically operating, like a bank would operate in that sense. And security and trust is obviously paramount, as you mentioned, Robert. And then from a more technical perspective, I think, Warren, I was just going to hand over to you, but yeah.
So we work with our banking partner to make sure we comply with their security framework and policies. We're using a managed platform in the cloud. So, the responsibility of us is less in terms of patching and security management. We're working serverless. So what we do is use tools and technologies to keep ourselves compliant with the OWASP top 10 risks. We make sure that we're ISO 27001 compliant in terms of actors working with our system. We will undergo a light touch CPS 234 audit for data security. We work with a cybersecurity consulting firm to work with us during product build to get us up to a certain level. We then take it back to Microsoft security experts that work with us to validate that because, due to the partnership program. And then as a final step, we take it to the bank's preferred security partner, and they do an independent penetration test on it. So it goes through all those layers, and then we use cutting edge analytics tools like SIEM to look for intrusion detection, and we try and be proactive with any logging and monitoring around security in the platform.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. And look, we've got a few more questions. I know we've just ticked over past one. For everybody who might need to go, we will provide a recording for the webinar so you can catch it at a later date. I'd love to just go through these questions just so we can tick some of these off. And I think to just kind of, if anybody is having to go at this point in time, I'd love to ask the question, which has come through around your current valuation and your exit strategy. So this can really just provide a lot more insight into people who are coming in on this round and really what your plan is for the next few years for the business.
Yep, the pre-money valuation is 13.9 million. So assuming a 3 mil round, you're looking at just under 17 post. From an exit strategy perspective, I think we're in a really strong position in terms of having optionality. I don't want to be too specific. Obviously, these things they can evolve in different ways. At a fundamental level, there's the opportunity to do an industry exit, and not to preempt anything, but obviously there was an announcement recently with 86400 operating as a different entity to what we're doing, but you can see some potential similarities there. There was also some acquisitions in this space recently by Xero getting into invoice financing and things like that. So we think there's a lot of different players in this area. You're looking at alternative lenders, banks, you're looking at payment companies that would find the member base that we're able to build very attractive. Ultimately as well, though, we're looking at potentially longer term, an IPO that could be on the cards. But again, that's many years down the track, and something for us, hopefully, with the team that we have and the experience that we have, we can build towards that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's questions here more coming in about the banking partner, and I know you will announce this one soon. This one will be available in the offer document. So for anybody who is looking to come in the round next week, so that you will be able to see that one. And then when it comes to there's been a couple of questions which have been asked. The platform is set up now really for Australian businesses. People have asked about global expansion and how big you're going to go. No doubt this is a vision for the future. But Australia's first, and obviously you're focusing on that launch right now. But where do you see yourselves growing into in years to come?
Yeah, the good news is the way we've designed everything from the get-go, from the technology stack to the partnership, gives us the opportunity to take the same playbook and roll that out into other markets. Obviously, there would need to be some adjustment to the product to account for local tax and accounting regulation and things like that. We would also have to find and select a local banking partner. But if you look into Asian market, similar to the European market, there are many regional banks that support multiple countries. So potentially we could sign a partnership with one partner bank to roll out into many markets within Asia. So it's definitely something on our radar. But again, we're looking to really nail the launch of the product this year. And then in terms of an horizon, in a couple of years' time, start to map out what other markets we could enter.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And look, I mean, I think you've had a really interesting, key question here, which is, are all investors coming in on the same terms? And I'll answer this one, because for anybody to come into the CSF round, you have to be coming in on exactly the same terms. So that's one of the key reasons as to why we feel so strongly about, cornerstone investors coming into the round, and really the diversity and the democratization of investment here, because this is allowing everybody to come in on the same terms as anybody, regardless of whether or not they're investing 100K or they're a VC, and they're coming into this round at this stage. Really, it's all about the opportunity and the growth potential for them. So they have agreed to come in on the same terms, and so this is everybody's opportunity to invest alongside them.
Exactly, and that was something we were passionate about too. We want to have, the same way we treat our customers, the same way we treat our employees is the same way we want to treat our investors. You're part of our business, and we want to leverage each and every one of you in terms of building this up to be a success.
Yeah, absolutely. And Steve here has asked what licenses you have that allow you to issue debit and credit cards. This is really with MasterCard.
I don't know, Ben, if you want to just give a quick run through.
Yeah, it's through the partnership model, the licenses are held by the partners, and we are providing it to the public, but it's issued by the partners.
Yeah, awesome. And just to follow on from that as well, Ben, somebody's just asked here around the debit cards and whether or not they'd be instantly provisioned for any users who are coming into the platform.
So do you mean instantly available?
Yeah, but potentially that's just a question that's been asked. Yeah,
the idea is to have a digital card instantly available and then have a physical card mailed out.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and that's a key proposition, actually. We've called it internally business in a box. Is essentially you can get up and trading with Thrive in a matter of minutes, including we're looking at integrating company and ABN registration into that as well. So you get banking, you get your payments, you get the accounting and tax, everything that we offer, as well as the registration of your business. So you can literally start trading within minutes.
Yeah, awesome. And Jeff here has asked what sort of AI you guys are using. I don't know, Warren, if you want to go into a bit more detail around this and go down this route.
This is Yao's favorite topic, Simon.
Yeah, I'm more than happy to talk about this one. I've been waiting my turn. Look, we're looking at a number of different techniques, right? So we're approaching it from a pragmatic fashion. So the thing with the complexity of data and analytics solutions is that the more complex you make it, then there's more things that can go wrong. So the concept is to use the least complex solution to get to the highest level of accuracy and robustness. Some of the things, some of the sort of interesting techniques we're looking at include sort of optical character recognition, so digitizing images. That's a really core part of our capability to automatically reconcile receipts and invoices, and even to, for example, recognize all the different payment options within a bill that you've received, either from your email address or that you've uploaded, and be able to sort of pre-generate those payment configurations. That's one part of the app that's heavily driven by sort of machine learning and AI. Another part is obviously forecasting. So, different sorts of time series forecasting techniques, from simple sort of, moving average financial model stuff all the way through to, using neural networks and more advanced techniques as well there. A lot of that, once you get into sort of the hardcore machine learning space, it requires sort of longer observation periods, more depth of data. So in our solution, sort of the more data we have, the more advanced techniques we tend to use. Other examples include things like, anomaly detection, identifying recurrences and things like that to understand and accurately forecast upcoming costs and recurring sort of incomes and expenses, and also being able to potentially sort of flag, oddities within those patterns as part of the smart alerts that we're doing as well. That's just a few of the examples. I could go on all day, but we're running out of time, I think.
Yeah, awesome. I'm sure people can ask you about that, and you can drown them in information. So we can kind of go from it from there. That's awesome. And I think, just to round off a couple final questions, you've just had one around the distribution of the software, and obviously, I think it kind of goes without saying that your accounting, like other accounting players in the market, would also have some of your ideal customers, yet it's clear that you're competing with them. What's the decision making behind, competing versus partnering with some of these individuals? I think it's, relatively clear, but I'd love to hear it from your side, what your kind of approach was with this, Michael.
It's always about the customer, honestly, and everything that we've designed is around that. So like I said earlier, there will be customers who say, I want to use Thrive. Let's say they're using Xero today, but they're like, I really want to use Thrive for these other reasons, because Thrive, I can actually submit things. I can get forecasts. I can get my payments done automatically, but I'm still want to use Xero for whatever reason. They can definitely have that set up, and they can continue with that setup. So they can use Thrive in conjunction with Xero. We feel over time, people who have that set up will probably come to realize that just using Thrive for everything is actually better, more efficient, and probably cheaper for them. But we'll let our product do the talking when it's live, and we're hoping that that's the case. From the research we've done today, that is actually one of the core issues. People don't want to have separate tools. They don't want to have to set up a feed. They don't want to have to go toggle between two different applications with two different sets of data. They don't want to have to reconcile something between Xero and their bank account. So with Thrive, we alleviate all of that out of the box. So I think it'll come to bear that people will just actually end up using Thrive exclusively. Now, if it makes sense, and the partners are willing to meet us, as equal partners in a sense, we would love to look at potentially working with some of those brands. But we do have some other focus areas in terms of partnerships right now.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I really do want to try and tie these questions off, because obviously there's more that keep on coming in. Peter, your question around the total shareholding after the offer is completed. This is actually going to be quite a difficult one to determine because of the way in which the minimum and maximum target are currently set. If we fall somewhere in between that, then that's obviously where the total shareholding is going to finish. So it's not going to be exactly determined until the offer is completed. However, it will be quite clear once the offer is completed and in its settlement phase. In the offer document, you will be able to see this information. And Cameron has asked around the marketing strategy to get the business out there, and I'd love to, around social media ads, etc., kind of where you're looking to grow the business after the capital raise and onboard customers. And I think that's going to be a really good place to finish.
Look, firstly, I think we've nailed acquisition already to get to, we're just past 7,500 members on the wait list. And as Ben mentioned, critically, these people, some of them are now paying to skip the wait list, such as the demand to get access to the product when it's live. So we already can see that there's interest. The first and primary mechanism is to nail the launch with the wait list and use them as advocates and referrers to get to 14,000, 21,000, 28,000 customers. We're hoping by the time we launch the product, we have in excess of 10,000 on the wait list. Our CPA, or cost per acquisition today, is around $5 for that wait list. So it's already in a very, very healthy range for us. Now, the other bit in terms of what we're doing moving forward, we are hiring a community manager who will exclusively work with the waitlist, get them ready to transition over when we go live, help them create content, work with them, build a real community around what we're doing. Secondly, we're looking at acquisition partners, so businesses that work in verticals around us that will benefit from Thrive, and their customers will benefit from Thrive. So for example, not to say we're doing anything with these businesses, but for example, you've got the likes of HighPages, you've got the likes of Airtasker. So essentially businesses where some of the audience that have signed up for Thrive would also benefit from a relationship. So you sign up to HighPages, for example, you can also get access to Thrive through that. We touched on accounting partners as well. So we're alleviating some issues for them. And then I think the key thing is through those networks, it's building in a referral engine into the product as well. So ultimately, every invoice that's sent, every activity that's done through the platform, there's an opportunity for that business to promote Thrive to the person receiving the invoice or to the person that they're paying the bill for. So all of those things will have references to Thrive. It'll highlight the benefits of Thrive, and ultimately we'll probably use that to run certain deals and programs throughout the year, including seasonal campaigns. There's times around tax time where things like Thrive are especially relevant, and we can promote those products accordingly throughout the year.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think that's just a fantastic place to finish, and thank everybody who's come along and attended this webinar. I know we've gone over a little bit, so thanks to everyone who stayed until the end. We're really, really excited to obviously be working with the Thrive team on this awesome product and be bringing it to market, and obviously being their partner in helping them with their fundraise. As mentioned, the offer will be going live on Tuesday. It will be going live, and you will be some of the first people to be able to gain access to it. And during the live offer launch on Tuesday, there's a private window offer. And during that private window offer, should you choose to invest into it, you will gain preferred payment terms, which will mean you won't have to actually reflect or complete the payment of your investment until the very end of the campaign. So therefore, for anybody who's very eager to come in, there is a benefit in your payment terms. For anybody who has any other questions around equity crowdfunding, you can always message me. I'm on robin@birchal.com. And obviously you can message the Thrive team at any point in time by going onto their page and hitting send message as well. I don't know if you wanted to finalize and sign off with anything else, Michael, but it's been a real pleasure to have this chat, have everybody join us here today, and have a chat with the whole Thrive team.
Awesome. Thank you so much for organising. I would say one final thing is that there is a number of incentives as well for investing with Thrive, including free access to the platform, skipping the wait list, and also getting access to an exclusive annual event that we're going to be running called Thriday. So just bear in mind when you get the offer document, those incentives are outlined, but there's some other additional benefits for getting in early as well.
That's awesome. Well, thanks very much, everybody, for attending. We'll follow up with you shortly, obviously, with a recording of this webinar, should you want to catch it at any point in time. But going live next week is going to be awesome. So thanks very much, everybody. See you soon.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you.